All right.
Okay.
Okay. Hi, this is a 180 multi-voice, proper names, Cindy Jones, Mr. Kenrick, State Assistant County Attorney, Ernesto Rodriguez, Ms. Jones, Mr. Rodriguez, Sonia Solis, El Paso County Juvenile Probation Department, Ms. Solis, State's Exhibit Number 1, State's Exhibit number 1 again.
Well, but that one just says States Exhibit 1.
Oh, I see. Okay. Juvenile Probation Department, Texas, TYC, States Exhibit Number 2, States Exhibit 2, Dr. Rodolfo Basurto, States Exhibit Number 3, Texas Youth Commission, Class B, Intensive Supervised Probation, Project Spotlight, Cindy, Class A, Folks, Challenge Boot Camp Program, Bel Air High School, Delta Academy. I'm going to be Mr. Rodriguez.
The witness,
The court.
Mr. Rodriguez.
the witness.
The court.
And we'll start with the court, followed by Mr. Rodriguez in direct examination.
All right. At this time, we'll get on the record in cause number 9901895 in the matter of Cindy Jones. The juvenile is present with Mr. Kenrick, counsel, and the states represented by the Assistant County Attorney Ernesto Rodriguez. Also in court is the mother of the child, Ms. Jones. Are the parties ready to proceed in disposition?
The state's ready, Your Honor.
If the witness will raise her right hand. Okay, you may proceed, Mr. Rodriguez.
Thank you, Your Honor. Can you please state your name and occupation?
My name is Sonia Solis. I'm employed by the El Paso County Juvenile Probation Department as a probation officer.
Ms. Solis, is it in that capacity you've become familiar with Cindy Jones?
Yes, sir.
And what is the juvenile's date of birth?
The juvenile was born on January the 27th, 1986.
Okay, did you prepare a predisposition or a modification disposition report in this matter?
Yes, I did.
And did you provide a copy of that to counsel in the court?
Yes, I did.
Your Honor, I will offer State's Exhibit Number 1.
State's Exhibit 1 is admitted.
There's also a memorandum from the General Counsel from the Juvenile Probation Department, is that correct?
Yes, there is.
Which indicates that this juvenile is eligible for the Texas TYC eligible, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
We'll offer it as State's Exhibit Number 2, Your Honor.
No objection to the memoranda, so State's Exhibit 2 is admitted.
Is there also a psychological report in this case?
Yes, there is.
And was the report prepared by Dr. Rodolfo Basurto?
Yes, it was.
Have you provided a copy of it to counsel and the court?
Yes, I did.
Your Honor, we'll offer it as State's Exhibit Number 3.
State's Exhibit Number 3 is admitted.
Do you believe that Cindy Jones is in need of rehabilitation?
Yes, I do.
And what is your recommendation?
It is the recommendation of the El Paso County Juvenile Probation Department that Cindy Jones be placed in the care, custody, and control of the Texas Youth Commission.
What is the basis of your recommendation?
The basis of my recommendation is that the juvenile is eligible for the Texas Youth Commission. She was adjudicated back on August the 3rd of the year 2000 for possession of marijuana under 2 ounces. That was a Class B misdemeanor. She was placed on supervised probation until her 18th birthday on August the 17th, 2000. She was subsequently modified back on April the 30th, May the 8th, 2001, She was subsequently modified on May the 8th, 2001. She was placed on supervised probation under the terms and conditions of intensive supervised probation, Project Spotlight, back on May the 24th, 2001. On January the 29th, 2002, Cindy was again placed on supervised probation under the terms and conditions of intensive supervised probation on the Project Spotlight due to another adjudication back on January the 9th, 2002 for an assault Class A.
Is the juvenile a member of a gang?
No, she claims she's not, but there was an issue with the assault that was family related through the Folks gang.
Okay, so she associates with negative peers, is that correct?
Yes, she does.
Okay, how about the home environment? Can you please brief the court on the home environment?
The mother and the juvenile's relationship is very rocky. At one point when the juvenile was at home, things were okay at first, but then things began to get difficult when the juvenile was at home. The mom did attack her at one point with a hatchet. She went to the...
Hold on, ma'am. You will get an opportunity. Be quiet. You will not talk unless you're recognized by the court. You will have an opportunity.
The mother did attack her with a hatchet at one point. She did go to county jail for that. The juvenile failed to report that to the juvenile probation department. She remained at home. When the department realized that there was no supervision at home, they went to the home and they detained the juvenile. All the family's relatives were trying to be located to place her with them, but nobody wanted the juvenile back at home with them. The juvenile and the mom, while they were in the Challenge Boot Camp program, never really addressed their issues. The mom focused more on herself than the juvenile. And it was more of they could never go past the blame with one another. So that's one of the reasons why the juvenile wanted to discontinue with the services at one point, because she didn't want to go home. Towards the end, the mom was making more efforts, but the juvenile was not making any efforts on her own to improve their relationship.
Does the juvenile lend herself to supervision?
No, she does not.
Okay, is the juvenile attending school?
The juvenile was attending school both in the home and in the Challenge Boot Camp program. She was attending Bel Air High School. There was some problems there because of the assault and some attendance problems. At Delta Academy, she did very well. As a matter of fact, one of her teachers, Mr.
Okay. This is multi-voice number 2, proper names John Smith, State's Exhibit number 1, Dr. Rodolfo Basurto, Exhibit number 2, Dr. Raul Jimenez, Sex Offender Evaluation, Dr. Norma Reed, State's Exhibit number 4, Hide and Go Seek, Franklin High School, Raymond Tellez, El Paso County Juvenile Probation Department, and Norma Reed. I'm going to be Ms. Gutierrez.
The witness,
The court.
Ms. Gutierrez.
the witness,
The court.
And it starts with direct examination by Ms. Gutierrez. Is it in that capacity that you're familiar with the juvenile John Smith?
yes, I am.
What is his date of birth?
The juvenile's date of birth is 8/26/87.
And did you prepare the predisposition report for today's hearing?
Yes, I did.
Did you provide a copy to opposing counsel and to the court of this report?
Yes, I did.
Your Honor, I would ask that this be admitted as State's Exhibit number 1.
Any objection? There is no objection, so it will be admitted.
Did you likewise provide a copy of the psychological evaluation performed by Dr. Rodolfo Basurto to the court and opposing counsel?
Yes.
Your Honor, I would ask that this be admitted as Exhibit number 2.
Any objection? There is no objection, so it will be admitted.
And did you also provide a copy of the psychiatric evaluation conducted by Dr. Raul Jimenez to the court and opposing counsel?
Yes, I did.
Your Honor, we ask that this be admitted as State's Exhibit number 3.
Any objection? There is no objection, so it will be admitted.
And finally, did you also provide a copy of the sex offender evaluation performed by Dr. Norma Reed to opposing counsel and to the court?
Yes, I did.
Your Honor, would ask that this be admitted as State's Exhibit number 4.
Any objection? There is no objection, so it will be admitted.
Is this juvenile in need of rehabilitation?
Yes, he is.
What is the adjudicated offense?
The adjudicated offense is indecency with a child, unlawful restraint, and injury to a child.
Could you just briefly summarize the nature of the offense for us, the facts?
On July 29, 2002, the juvenile apparently was, at this point, reported to the police officers. The juvenile was at the victim's home, which the victim lives across the street from the juvenile and his parents. He was there at his house and they were playing hide and go seek. He was there with the 4-year-old neighbor as well as her 8-year-old sister. They were playing hide and go seek. Apparently, from what the police report reads, is that the victim has accused the juvenile of laying on top of her and thrusting his private parts on her, and then she reported it to her parents.
And how old is the victim?
Now she's 5 years old.
She was 4 at that time?
Yes.
Okay. Does he have any other adjudications or referrals?
The juvenile has no other adjudications. He does have another referral that was referred on May 1st, 2000. It was a terroristic threat. On May 12, 2000, the county attorneys declined the case.
And this terroristic threat was not against the family of the victim?
No.
Any history of substance abuse?
The juvenile reported to me that he has not consumed alcohol, but has taken sips of his parents' beer. The first use was when he was 7 years old. The last time he stated that he had taken a sip from his parents' drink is the beginning of March of 2003. Also, that he has smoked cigarettes. The first use was when he was in 6th or 7th grade. The last use was last semester. The juvenile reported that he takes a drag here and there from his friends' cigarettes, but does not actually. I asked him what a drag was. He said it was just it's a puff, and also marijuana. He experimented in the 7th grade.
And who does he reside with?
The juvenile resides with his both parents and his sister.
And do they still live across the street from the victim and the family?
Yes, correct.
How has he been doing at home?
At home, the parents report no problems with him, that he abides by the rules. He's not often disciplined, and that he's doing good there at home.
How about school? How is he doing in school?
At school, he is attending Franklin High School as a 9th grader. He is behind 1 year due to the fact that his birthday, which is in August. There's no disciplinary referrals reported. He has not incurred any excessive absences or tardies or so forth. However, our main concern is that the juvenile has drastically dropped his grades from last semester when he was attending Raymond Diaz. We also looked into his grades from elementary to middle school, and he has A's and B's. And I questioned the juvenile about his grades at this time, since he failed last 6 weeks and this 6 weeks.
What is your recommendation?
It is the recommendation of El Paso County Juvenile Probation Department that John S. Smith be placed on supervised probation without a curfew until his 18th birthday, with a review hearing in 6 months.
Could you move the microphone? I'm having a hard time hearing you. Now, was he evaluated by Norma Reed?
Yes, he was.
What were the results of that evaluation?
The results of the evaluation is that she's recommending the juvenile submit to a clinical polygraph.
Okay, and have you spoken to Norma Reed about this polygraph and what it's for?
I have spoken with her in regards to it. She had stated that the clinical polygraph is for treatment needs at this point.
Okay, this will be 160 multi number 1. Proper name, Mrs. Delaney. People, defendant Matthew Rayburn. Matthew Rayburn, defendant Rayburn. Defendant Proctor, Rayburn. Proctor, Ellingham. People versus Ortiz. Mr. Phillips, section 906.3, code. People versus Hamilton, 88, Cal Rep 505. I'm going to be Mr. Phillips.
Ms. Delaney,
The court.
Mr. Phillips,
Ms. Delaney,
The court.
and this is all in colloquy. Your Honor, before Mrs. Delaney examines, there has been a question as to the number of preemptory challenges. As a result, I'm going to move a little earlier than I expected to. As Your Honor has noticed, there are two defendants in this matter. It is the expectation of the people that Defendant Matthew Rayburn will testify for the people. As a result, the people move for dismissal of the case against Matthew Rayburn.
Is there any objection, Mrs. Delaney?
No, Your Honor, no objection. May we approach the bench, Your Honor?
All right. Do you want the reporter?
Yes, Your Honor. Since, Your Honor, the people have moved to dismiss the information as against the defendant Rayburn, I move for a dismissal as to the defendant Proctor on both counts of the conspiracy, since there must be at least two or more people in a conspiracy. A man cannot conspire against himself, and therefore I move for dismissal of the information on Proctor on that ground.
I thought I had brought that case to court with me, and I see I haven't. The cases show I have no authority at the present time, but you can try one of the conspirators as long as you prove that they conspired with other people.
There are some cases where you can try one if the court please, yes, but it still takes two to make a conspiracy, and there is no charge pending now against Rayburn. Rayburn is free to go.
There is an allegation in the amended information that they conspired. It just merely removes him as a defendant in the lawsuit. The allegation remains the same.
I renew the motion if the court please. Submit it.
I haven't dismissed it yet, you know.
I know, Your Honor. I said I submitted it, Your Honor, on the motion.
If I understand the law, if you had an acquittal of one and you don't allege two, then of necessity, the allegation must follow. But the allegations show that he conspired with both Ellingham and Rayburn.
It says right here, Your Honor, if two or more persons conspire.
I have tried a case before against one conspirator.
I didn't hear you.
I have tried a case of conspiracy before where the other two had already pled guilty.
Just because you tried one before counsel doesn't mean that it is the law.
That doesn't mean anything. Well, do you want some time to look it up or what?
I will submit it. I would like to get a couple of cases myself.
I think I can find a case quite soon.
Your Honor, may we have 10 or 15 minutes?
Well, let us see what he has there first.
Very well.
We are having a tough enough time getting started as it is.
The People versus Ortiz. The state of the offense shows that two or more persons conspired together to commit the crime, even though only one person is indicated.
That is only in relation to the pleading, though.
Well, that is all we have here now, is with relation to the pleading. Ellingham is also mentioned as a co-conspirator, and he is not even a co-defendant.
That is true, Your Honor.
The amendments in the back of the section would seem to be pertinent.
You say they do or they don't?
They don't seem to add anything.
My reaction to it is that you can dismiss and go ahead and proceed. If you want some time to look it up further, why,
Shall we proceed with the voir dire at this time? In other words, what is the position of Mr. Phillips?
Well, that is the trouble.
The court hasn't ruled on the people's motion. Is that correct, Your Honor?
I haven't ruled yet.
We could take until 2:45, Your Honor.
You are a little better at research than I am. It depends on the court's pleasure. I will do whatever the court wants.
Well, I don't want to dismiss it if it is going to stop your lawsuit.
Well, I think that I haven't read this case. I only read the statement here, would certainly indicate.
Well, I should think you would want to read it before you take these drastic measures.
Perhaps we should take a short recess.
Let the record show the prospective jurors are present and in the box. Do you want to approach the bench again, counsel?
I think the record should show that the people's motion has been made pursuant to section 906.3 of the code.
All right.
Second, page 78 lists two cases. which are in point. People versus Hamilton, 88 Cal Rep 505. The other is okay, this is 160. Multi-voice number 2. Proper names are Norma Reed, A/B, Daryl Rubio, Ms. Ramirez, and State. I'm going to be Mr. Macias.
The witness.
The court.
Mr. Macias.
The witness.
The court.
And it starts with cross-examination by Mr. Macias. At this time, Norma Reed is not recommending any sex offender treatment, correct?
Correct.
And there haven't been any further incidents.
No.
Is there any harm then in waiting for him to take this clinical polygraph that she's recommending until after an appeal process was taken?
Well, I don't think there's any harm, but I feel that this department feels that the juvenile needs some type of treatment. So we're recommending at this point the family counseling through Norma Reed,
Okay,
opposed to the clinical polygraph.
all right. So you're not recommending the clinical polygraph?
No.
You're not.
The court may order it, but we're not recommending it at this time.
And would you tell me what the family counseling is with Norma Reed? What does that consist of?
Well, since she reported here that due to the fact that if truthfulness comes out, then he remains on probation. Then him and his family participate in therapy to help him responsibly handle probation and develop more responsible behavior in general. So that's what we're recommending at this time, so the juvenile can understand the type of probation and handle responsibility.
Okay, but this doesn't include a clinical polygraph,
No,
and it doesn't include any sex offender counseling at this time?
not at this time.
All right, and what has caused, in your opinion, this drastic, and we're talking about a drastic drop in grades. We're talking about a drop from an A, B
Correct.
student to grades like I had in high school, which are very, very low. What are we talking about here? What's the matter?
I talked to the juvenile in front of his mother, and he stated due to the fact of the change from middle school to high school. And I explained to him, yes, we've all gone through that from going from middle school to high school and on to college. But at this point, he needs to be focusing on his grades.
Okay. Is he depressed? Is there something wrong? I mean,
The first time I had conducted my home visit with the parents, I had asked the juvenile about his grades and his drop in grades and in his performance. And he kind of explained it's also due to the fact of what's going on with his department.
all right. So this has had an effect on him in that respect.
Yes,
And he would report weekly
yes. At this point, yes, we're recommending weekly
to you?
to his assigned probation officer, which is Daryl Rubio.
Okay. And where is that reporting taking place?
It could either be here or Daryl Rubio will do visits there in home.
Okay. It wouldn't interfere with his schooling in any way?
Oh, no.
Okay. Now, are you recommending some sort of tutoring at this point for his grades?
I spoke with his parents in regards to that, and the mother says at this time they have already registered him for summer school.
All right. No further questions at this time, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Ramirez, could I ask one question? The Norma Reed did not recommend any sex offender treatment at this time because he's denying the accusations. Is that right?
Yes, correct.
Okay. And so she feels that it would be, I guess, counterproductive if someone doesn't admit to something, like some kind of sexual offense, that it would not do any good to put them through sex offender treatment.
Correct.
But if it is found that he did commit this offense, then she would recommend sex offender treatment?
She would recommend, yes.
And she's telling you the way to find out is to go through the clinical polygraph?
Yes, correct.
Okay, so why would we delay having that done?
Well, when I spoke with my senior officer in regards to that, he had stated that if the court orders a polygraph, then at that point, then the juvenile will submit to the clinical polygraph.
No, but what is your recommendation?
My recommendation would be that the juvenile participate in the family counseling through Norma Reed.
Well, why would you delay having the clinical polygraph? And what is your reason for delaying that?
In speaking with my senior office, that's what he had directed to me instead of the clinical polygraph, recommending the family counseling.
But this is your recommendation, right?
Yes, correct.
So what is your reason?
Well, from what they've told me about this is that if the court orders a polygraph, then the juvenile will submit to it, but we can't recommend that the juvenile submit to a clinical polygraph.
Okay, does the state have any other witnesses? Okay, I just noticed the time. I think it will be best if we start with your